to our event today, and we hope you're doing safe and well. Your presence is so appreciated, and we cannot wait for you to see what this event has in store.
Thank you, Ryan. And before we begin, I'd just like to start by saying that I'm respectfully acknowledging that I reside on the traditional and unceded territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe peoples. I encourage everyone to take a moment and learn about the land you are on, your social position, your privileges, and actually take some reconciliation, which are actions that revolve around having meaningful consultations and creating respectful relationships with Indigenous peoples, educating yourself on the histories, languages, and cultures of Indigenous peoples. I would like to acknowledge or emphasize as well that this land acknowledgement is just a very small start. And we all need to work to reconcile with Indigenous peoples. That being said, we will now post some links in the chat to help you start your learning process. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nilusha, for that important reminder. Today, we would like to also acknowledge the recent events in London, Ontario, Canada, which took the lives of 4 Canadian Muslims last weekend. In this time of collective grieving, we want to acknowledge that hate crimes like this are still an ongoing issue, not just in some places in the world, but in many. And it is our duty to stand up and ensure that this never happens again. Finally, today, June 12th, marks World Day Against Child Labor. Something that gives me chills is the fact that all of these issues, child labor, hate, racism, they are all interconnected. And one thing that we can all do, which we are doing right now, is taking the time to learn and really advocate for the importance of education and the opportunity for every single student around the world to learn. And that is why we are here today. And that is why I am so grateful to be here and to have all of you incredible people here today. So thank you so much for joining. And without further ado, I would love for you all to meet my incredible team members. So we will all introduce ourselves, and I guess I will start. So my name is Arissa Roy, and I'm the founder and CEO of Project Power Global. My pronouns are she, her, and I will be an MC for today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Camilla. My pronouns are she, her, and my position at Project Power Global is a pen pal co-director, and I will be one of your MCs for today.
Hi, everyone. I'm Erica. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm an events lead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the events director here at Project Power Global, and I will be an MC for today.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Helen. I work at Project Power as the co-newsletter director. My pronouns are she, her, and I will be an MC today.
Hello, my name is Nilusha. My pronouns are also she, her. I am the other co-director for the newsletter, and I will also be an MC today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mia, and my pronouns are she, her, and I'm the website lead at Project Power.
Hi, my name is Muskan Pirani. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the other pen pal co-director at PPG, and I'll be an MC for today.
Hi, everyone. I'm Owen. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm the social media director at PPG.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rashawn. My pronouns are he, him. I'm a meetings coordinator and temporarily an events lead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Zoe. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the graphic design director at PPG.
Hi, my name's Tess. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a graphic design lead.
Thank you so much, everybody. Honestly, none of us, I think, would be here without every single one of my team members. So thank you all. All right, well, with that, let's kick off our event with a bang. Today, we are so grateful to have a very special performance presented to you by the incredible A.Y. Young. A.Y. Young is a producer, singer, songwriter, entertainer, and entrepreneur. He first began writing poetry at 14, and while touring the US, AY learned that over 1 billion people around the world lack access to electricity. So, AY began powering his concerts using renewable energy, and also through that, raising awareness about sustainability and fundraising to bring people electricity everywhere. He is the founder of the Battery Tour, which is a global movement that uses the universal language of music to get people plugged into sustainability and clean energy solutions. Through his music, he not only advocates for our planet, but so many of the other UN SDGs, such as quality access to education. Moreover, AY in 2012 landed on the X Factor and received 4 yeses, which inspired him to hit the streets and start performing his original music. And through that, opening for artists such as Wiz Khalifa, Shaggy, T-Pain, Flo Rida, Aaron Carter, and others. Today, AY will not be performing live, but he has pre-recorded his hit song, Save the Planet for Us, which we'll be presenting to you in just a moment. And he will also be here live to answer any questions you may have after. So to start though, we have his introduction video, which we will be sharing with you right now.
A local hip-hop artist makes an international name for himself. He is the first artist to power his concert with 100% renewable energy.
It is a real honor to recognize Mr. A.Y. Young, the founder of Battery Tour.
It's incredible. Can't wait for you to see this. The United Nations is now throwing its support behind him.
Mr. Young has made a big impact in his young life, born in 1991. He's a singer-songwriter, a dancer, producer, entrepreneur, and sustainability advocate. He's staged and performed more than 800 concerts. He was named by the United Nations recently as one of 17 youth world leaders of the world, the only individual selected for that honor from the United States.
To stimulating this local economy further, bringing entrepreneurs together, bringing businesses together, bringing the world together so we can make some change.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know there's over 1 billion people who lack access to energy.
I'm AY with the Battery Tour, and we're here in Honduras. It's beautiful.
We send, develop, and deploy renewable energy to people around the world that need it.
It's all about getting people access to electricity.
Save the planet, we gon' save the planet. Everybody looking at me like I'm from another planet.
We store energy in batteries and then use it to do a concert.
Solar power, witness.
I always wanted the world to hear my music, this message of positivity and spreading love. I just wanted to say hey to the world. You know, it's okay to be yourself. So I'm really here to help just push that message and get the world plugged in to renewable energy.
Save the planet, we gon' save the planet. Everybody looking at us like we from another planet. Woo! Save the planet, we gon' save the planet. Everybody looking at us like we from another planet. Woo! say the planet. We gon' say the planet. Everybody looking at us like we from another planet. Oh, say the planet. We gon' say the planet. Everybody looking at us like we from another planet. They acting like we from another planet, Mars. They say climate change ain't a thing. What you talking about? What you know about that? What your carbon offset? Facts. We just wanna act. We ain't sitting back. Solar power. When it's solar power, everybody need the energy. Let's store it up and power the world. Recycle. We need more recycle, but you're acting like some followers on Instagram and Twitter, yeah? So tick tock, don't let the ball drop. The clock starts now, plug in, baby. Hey, so tick tock, don't let the ball drop. The clock starts now, plug in. We gon' say the planet. So tick tock, don't let the ball drop. The clock starts now, plug in. We gon' say the planet. So tick tock, don't let the ball drop. The clock starts now, plug in. Say the planet, we gon' say the planet. Everybody looking at me like I'm from another planet. Woo! Say the planet, we gon' say the planet. Everybody looking at me like I'm from another planet. Ooh. Say the planet, we gon' say the planet. Everybody looking at me like I'm from another planet. Ooh. Say the planet, we gon' say the planet. Everybody looking at me like I'm from another planet. Ooh. Say the planet, we gon' say the planet. Everybody looking at me like I'm from another planet. Oh, say the planet. We gon' say the planet. Everybody looking at me like I'm from another planet. The ocean is alive. Keep the plastic out. The ocean is alive. So keep the plastic out. The ocean is alive. Keep the plastic out. The ocean is alive, so keep the plastic out, yeah. Let's save the planet.
Hey everybody. Okay, wow. I am like feeling so hyped. I love that song. It's been like stuck in my head ever since AY shared it with all of us. Unfortunately, there are some like technical problems. I don't think AY is on yet. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna move on to our next segment, which is inviting all of our incredible panelists on. And then if he's able to hop on, I think there were some technical problems, but if he's able to join, we'll let you know, and he'll probably be able to answer questions later on in the event. But if not, we are in contact with him, so you can all send over all of your questions to us via email or via Instagram, and we will get them all answered for you as soon as possible. So sorry about that. Technology sometimes. Okay, and also actually, we wanted to say that if you want to follow AY on Instagram, his Instagram is right on the screen. And also, as I said, he's the founder of the Battery Tour. So you can also follow his organization and movement on Instagram right there. Yes, so thank you. And I'll pass it over to Helen.
Hi, everyone. I believe on the next slide, or I could just be delayed, but yes, the phases of digital devolve. So you can see what we've been up to during the awareness and outreach stages, as well as what's to come in the change phase. See, you are helping us right now achieve our goal just by attending this presentation. Aside from that, we hope to use the stage to create a meaningful plan to help eradicate this terrible issue.
All right, and thank you so much, Helen. Now we are going to begin our very exciting part of the event, which is our panel. Take it away, Camilla.
Thank you, Arissa. We hope you all enjoyed this pre-event special. And now onto the panel discussion. We're so fortunate to have 6 wonderful panelists with us today who have come from a variety of diverse backgrounds. We are all so excited to learn from you and to hear from what you have to say about the digital divide and education in general.
Yes, I am so excited, and I am even more excited to be announcing our 6 amazing panelists. First up, we have NELLY CHEBOI, then we have Tony Salvaggio, then we have Alex Calderon, then we have Kamarul Kabira Ayan, then we have Kwame Lennon, and to finish it off, we have Ashta Magu. You'll get to meet all these panelists in just a few moments.
Thank you, Arissa. So now I'm going to explain how the panel will work. So to begin, each panelist will have 8 minutes of Q&A time where we will just learn more about their perspective on the digital divide and the work they do surrounding it. Our team members have drafted up some questions to ask. However, the audience is allowed to put extra questions they may have in the chat. At the end, we will have a closing session where all the panelists will have a combined Q&A. Then there will be a brief after event, which you will hear more about later. Before we begin, we kindly ask that all panelists add their pronouns into their Zoom name.
Thank you, Ryan. All right, well, let's get started. First up, we have NELLY CHEBOI, the founder and CEO of TechLit Africa. When NELLY was young, she grew up in abject poverty in Mogotio, Kenya, and although she didn't use a keyboard until she was 18, she now enjoys a successful career as a software engineer. She believes through technology, her African community can find a sustainable solution to poverty, which is why she founded TechLit Africa. And we will be getting to learn more about her organization today in our conversation. Welcome, NELLY, and we are so glad to have you here with us today. All right, Rishan, if you could spotlight NELLY and I, that would be great. Awesome. Yay, okay, we're spotlighted. Hi, NELLY, how are you doing?
I'm doing so well. I'm calling from my hometown in Mogotio. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you just fine. Thank you so much for joining. I remember I was looking on your Instagram, and all the work you're doing is absolutely remarkable. And we're so happy you're able to come and talk with us today. So I guess to start off, can you just tell us a little bit about TechLit Africa and what inspired you to start it and how your journey kind of has went?
How much time do I have?
Okay, so that's a great question. Each panelist has around 8 minutes, so maybe two minutes?
Okay, yeah, okay. So speed run, okay. Yes, so my name is NELLY CHEBOI. I am 28 years old. I grew up in this community. So I'm in Mogotio right now. I've been here since March, and I grew up in abject poverty, like really, really bad. I used to go to bed without food and all that. And I have 3 sisters, so the 4 of us, 4 girls and my mom. I watched my mom work really hard to put us through school. And even though she worked really hard, she had really low margins, so she could not afford us to put us through school. And watching my mom struggle just gave me this drive to want to support her and to just want to, I just wanted her to live like a queen. And also I want to change the narrative of so many kids growing up in this community. My life, I feel like I didn't have a childhood because I was raising my sister at 9 years old. I wasn't eating well, studying really well and all that. And that motivation just gave me this drive to just change the narrative and to make my family's life better and to make my community's life better and communities like mine. What I could do at 9 years old was study really hard, and I did. I studied really hard. I aced all the exams. I was a top girl in the district, went to a good high school, aced all of it too. I'm very impressive, just gonna put that out there. And so, yeah, and then so I did all that. My high school life just had, I've had struggles all along, but I just kept pushing. And after being the top girl from high school, I got a full scholarship to come to America. And when I got there, I was just amazed at the abundance that was there. So many things about America. That's a whole different call about that. But the coolest thing is that I could actually work. So I could make $8 an hour. I could only work 20 hours a week. And from that money, I saved for a whole year bought a piece of land in the hope of building my family a better house because the house we grew up in was very unsafe. There was literally a hole in the middle that if you put a 10-foot pole, it just disappeared. We were paying $3 a month to live in that house and we could not even afford it. So it was just really, really bad. And so 1 year in, I bought land. Building the house was so expensive. So I flew back in 2013, went to Nairobi at like there's a slum that builds a lot of furniture, bought furniture, filled the truckload with furniture and drove it all the way to Mogotio, which is 4 hours away, and moved my family out of poverty. So I moved them into a much nicer house that had running water, that had electricity. Trouble is, they could not afford to live there because they could not afford to live in a $3 apartment. How can they afford to live in a $40 apartment? So I was on call to keep sustaining them. And I'm here in America trying to figure out the whole different culture, trying to do 3 majors. And so I started thinking about empowerment. How can I empower people to solve their own problems? How can I empower them to I want to have a sustainable solutions toward poverty. I can keep giving people money and giving them food, but they'll still come back the other day. But if I can empower them to solve their own solutions, then now we're talking, right? Yes, so there was that. And then again, wanting to just give kids a better life and all that. So I built a school. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna build a school. A school is really core to my narrative. Of course, I can build a school where, yeah, some money, I can do that. I can fundraise for that. Yeah. I did not. So hard. Anyway, so in 2015, so 2 years into America, more than 3 years into America, I started building a school. And the goal for this school was to try to first create jobs. So if I built a school, my sister could have a job because she got trained as as an ECD teacher. She could have a job and she could earn money and sustain my family. So I was off the hook for that. And then she's also empowered to hire more people, provide good education. It was just a perfect combination of what was very important to me, which was education and empowering my sisters and other women in the area to teach at the school. So yeah. I was like, you know what, I can build a school. That's easy. It was super expensive and I was only a college student. Yes, so I built a school in 2015. Around the same time, I discovered computer science. So I grew up wanting to be a pilot. And part of the reason is when I was scavenging for food at the trash pits and trying to, a plane would fly by and I'll be like, you know what, I want to fly out of poverty. I want to be flying that thing. I flew for the first time in 2012. I hated it. To be fair, I flew to Detroit, so maybe that has something to do with that. Anyway, anyway, and so yeah, so I got to America and I was trying to think, what can I do? I tried to study medicine, but then I had to do a cadaver class, and I was like, that is not for me. And so I ended up in chemistry for 2 years. Did not like it as much. I'd never really used a computer until I was applying to the colleges in the US, right? And so I did not know anything about programming, software engineering, and all that. And then along the way, I took a math major and then discovered computer science, and I fell in love with it. And this was my junior year. So I only had 1 year left of my scholarship. I was building a school. Then I was like, you know what, this is a perfect combination. My school will be technology school. I'm gonna start teaching kids computers because I just saw how impactful having computers has been to just the America, like looking at what Americans do, like just around me at the college, and like, it's just like, there was such a stark difference. And I'm just really tired of Africa being left behind. I'm so tired of my community being left behind. And I kept thinking about the kids in my community who have never seen a computer. What do they have to compete in the global economy? They're supposed to be competing with all these people that have grown up with computers. They have been hacking all their life. It's just really not fair. Like, they're starting so far behind. And I started thinking of how easy it is to redistribute technology. Americans on average, just rough estimate, churn out new computers every 3 years, 4 years. Your computer gets too slow. I don't know what you do with it. You get a new one. And only 11% of these computers get recycled. The rest just go to landfills. And on the other hand of the world, there are kids who don't know how to use computers. Like, the math is so easy. I just need to take computers that are going to Western America and bring them to communities like mine. Hence, that's how I started TechLit Africa. So the school was running, we used the school as a template on basic literacy. So we're starting from ground zero, how to use a mouse, how to use a keyboard, going on to touch typing, and now we're on to coding, video editing, making music, just you name it, right? And I'm gonna stop there because I've been talking for so long.
No, oh my gosh, I've got chills. Your story is incredible. Wow. And yeah, I love how despite like how many struggles you faced, you kept pushing. And I think it totally pays off. Like what you're doing now is a result of all those struggles you faced and how you overcame all of those. And I think that's the biggest lesson. Like no matter where all of us are in our journeys today, like there's gonna be struggles, but the more we keep pushing, the more we're gonna be able to get there and make a difference. Wow, Nelly, I've got
That is so right. Yeah, it doesn't matter where you came from because what matters is where you're going, right?
Yeah.
And if you have a really low start, then you have nothing to lose. You just have to be better than yesterday, which was nothing. So I just need to have something and then keep going.
Exactly. Okay, well, I have a few more questions, but I'm gonna be conscious of time because I think your story said it all, honestly. But can you tell us a little bit about, how, I guess you already shared about how it was hard for you not having technology. Did you feel like once you started learning about computers, more opportunities started opening up for you? Would you say like that's built a lot more like education opportunities and learning opportunities and growth opportunities for you?
Yes, yeah, most definitely. I mean, even when I decided to become a software engineer, and so when I discovered computer science, I dropped my chemistry majors. Like I'm gonna get a computer science degree, but I only had 1 year to do that. So I got a computer science degree in 1 year. It was a crazy year, but I did it. But then I could not get a job afterwards because I had no internship. And then at my job, my boss had, I did not know anything about touch typing. The way I was typing was like this. And then my boss had this keyboard with no words on it. And I was like, how are you doing that, right? I was so intimidating walking in front of him. Every time he came like to talk to me, I'll just literally shake and all that. So I had to overcome a lot. But then using that kind of like imposter syndrome, I really became so good at software engineering because in the field, you just need to like be willing to learn. So I was always really hungry for opportunities and all that. And I've done so much because because of my software engineering career. Like I think we have the most high-tech product. TechLit Africa has the most high-tech product of so many, most many nonprofits, because my co-founder and I are both software engineers, right? We have our own like operating system that we've modified. We have like, even with touch typing, we're creating our own applications and testing it on the ground. And I've also built so many products as a result. I've built a product that gets you to do push-ups every 1 hour. It's called Push-Up Bar. I've built so many. So there's so many opportunities as a result, just by being a software engineer myself, but also having that mindset that it's not about what you know, it's about willingness to learn.
Yeah.
And I think that is just so core of what software engineering is, that I wouldn't have done it if I was doing a different field. So just having that and being able to take that mindset and instill it in our labs, because most of the kids are coming in from memorization. That's the kind of education I grew up in. You memorize everything and then you regurgitate it at an exam.
Yeah.
You don't have any room to fail, you don't have any room to grow. But just being a software engineer and learning all those things, I'm able to like essentially change the mindset of these kids. Like let them just like try over and over, just try over and over. Yeah. So anyway.
That's a beautiful lesson. And I think that's something, even not just in certain communities, but globally, like so many of our education systems are foundationed on the fact that we learn things and then we spit it out on a test, ace it, and then we forget the information the next day. Like that's not education. Like, and I love that you're breaking that stigma. Wow, Nelly, I'm so inspired by you, honestly. And honestly, we had like a few more questions, but we're short for time. So we'll ask them when we have the combined Q&A, but thank you so much, Nelly.
Yeah, sure thing. Okay. Bye.
Well, thank you so much for those amazing insights, Nelly. And so next we have Tony Salvaggio, an award-winning social entrepreneur and the founder of eSmart Recycling. Tony went from reselling candy treats at the age 6, starting his first company at age 16 in his hometown in Venezuela, to a founding Do Good business venture with retail locations in South America. Essentially, Tony turned an old computer into a thriving company that has helped empower thousands of children worldwide with technology. Tony, welcome, and a big thank you for being here with us today.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. It's awesome what all of you are doing, and wow, what a whole bunch of talent. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So we'll just get started. And as Nelly had 8 minutes, we'll have 8 minutes for this Q&A. So the first question that we have for you is, can you please tell us a bit more about your organization?
Yeah, for sure. So I came to the US in 2011. I'm in Tampa, Florida. So 2014, I started my first company, and kind of how it started was that we were supposed to start with some capital that was going to help us grow, and then right around that time, things started to go very bad in Venezuela, which is my home country. And we ended up just having like $8,000 worth of capital. And my background is scrap metal, right? So back in Venezuela, we used to deal with, aluminum and steel and copper, and we would export it. So scrap metal was kind of my mindset. And then here I was, very undercapitalized, just recently quit my job and didn't know anyone here. When I migrated all by myself. Typical immigrant story, like $200 in my pocket, and that's it. Not understanding the culture, not understanding, how to do things. And, I couldn't start the way I was originally supposed to start. So brainstorming and looking at different things that I could do that were kind of aligned with scrap metal, e-waste was kind of a trendy topic. It was the fastest growing municipal waste stream, kind of like what Nelly just mentioned. Only, less than 20% really get recycled. And even though that accounts only for 2 or 3% of the actual, waste in landfills, it represents about 70% of the toxic waste that's in a landfill. So the numbers were pretty huge, and I said, okay, I know how to do that. I know, based on my scrap metal background, I'm pretty sure that I can figure out how to recycle computers. So joined local chamber, started networking, and one of the first networking meetings that I go to, I stand up, you get to talk about what you do. And I said, hey, if any of you have old computers that you just replaced, let us know, we can recycle them for you. And there was this company that had just upgraded like 20 computers. So we went over there, we picked them up, we brought them to a little, first office trailer that we had. And like the following week, similar situation, but then this time a nonprofit was the one that approached me. And then the lady said, hey, we serve about 300 kids right here in the community through an after school program. We don't have computers. We only have like 2 computers. Can we buy some affordable computers from you? That's what she said. So at that point, I was completely mind blown about the fact that in the United States, the best country in the world, you could see that gap, and I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that this organization that was helping kids was only like 4 miles away from this company that I had just picked up computers from, and they didn't have computers for the kids that they were helping. So I didn't have the heart to sell them the computers, but I told them, listen, we just picked up 20. I have a friend of mine that knows how to install operating systems and refurbish them. How about we give you 10 of those computers that we just picked up, and then we keep 10 for us to be able to resell and make money? And would you be okay with that? And she was super happy. The company that we had just picked up the computers, I let them know. They were happy. They were stoked, actually. And being able to create that win-win-win through my business was something that completely changed my perspective in how business should be done. And I became passionate with that idea and figuring out a way to solve that problem. That was back in 2015. Fast forward, we work with, multiple more Fortune 1000 companies. We recycle their technology every time it gets upgraded. We've deployed over 2,000 computers in about 5 different countries, and we have a measurable footprint of about 13,000 kids that now have access to technology because of our efforts and the efforts of our partners.
Wow, that is really inspiring. That from an immigrant from Venezuela, you came to the U.S. and you built something so amazing, and that helps so many children now. And now for the second question, what success story from your organization that continues to motivate you every day? I know that you already shared some success that your company has, but is there a specific story?
Yeah, there's a couple. First of all, in the entire journey, we realized that obviously figuring out a sustainable. Now, I've always been a believer that altruism is not sustainable. So any model that you have where altruism is a major component of that model is doomed for failure at some point. So I've always been passionate about creating that solution in a sustainable and a scalable way. And very quickly, we realized that access to computers and hardware, it's only one part of the equation, right? But once you provide, a kid or a family who doesn't have access to technology, once you provide them the means to connect, then it needs to come, accompanied by something else. Like, what are you going to use that technology for? So in the process, I've always felt like education and entrepreneurship are the greatest equalizers worldwide, right? Because if you can equip someone, regardless of where they are in the world, with proper education, and you light that fire for them to hustle and become entrepreneurs, then it doesn't matter. Obviously, if you come from advantageous circumstances, probably the entrepreneurial process becomes a little bit easier, but the market doesn't lie. If your product's good, people are going to buy it, regardless where you're coming from. If your service is good, people are going to use it. So you can't force that. You can't force that in the marketplace. So we created, as part of what we deploy, we created a social entrepreneurship curriculum that's digital and that we deploy every time we set up a computer lab, and we turn it into a digitized curriculum. And it's very rewarding to see kids and families go through it, especially when you're talking to a 10-year-old and they don't know what entrepreneurship is, let alone what social entrepreneurship is. So you start planting the seed very early on, and that in 20, 30 years, those are the change makers. Those are the people that are going to be in key positions of leadership in companies and organizations, and their voices, it can impact thousands and millions of people. So just trying to guide them and shine light of what equity means and sustainability means. It's pretty cool.
Wow, thank you. Yes, I can see on how empowering it can be to give someone an access to technology. As you said, that there are children that are really young that don't have access to technology, and like you said, that don't know what entrepreneurship is. And it's really sad to hear about that, but it's enlightening to hear that you and your company have been able to provide electronics for them.
Thank you, Camila.
So I think we just ran out of time. We just hit the 8-minute mark. So thank you so much for answering these questions. We have a few questions left, so in the combined Q&A, we'll ask you those. But thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Tony, for that conversation. I definitely learned a lot about that. Next, we have Alex Calderon, who is the co-founder and CEO of Devolve Tech. This is a nonprofit organization that provides technology and education for students across the city of Chicago. As a first-generation immigrant, recent MBA graduate, and a tech professional with 18 years of experience, Alex wants to inspire young students to gain an interest in technology and provide them with the necessary resources to become the future tech leaders of tomorrow. Thank you, Alex, for taking the time to be on this panel. We're so excited to hear from you.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well, and so far I'm really happy with all the panelists. We all have a similar story, so it's just really interesting to see like how we're doing the same thing, but across the world. So I love it.
I agree. Okay, so let's get started. Why start this organization? Is there a story behind it? Just tell us a bit about it.
Sure, there is a backstory of it. So as you kind of heard, I've been working in technology for a long time. And of course, with the pandemic, we noticed that there was a little bit of a gap for, students or families to get access to technology. The schools went remote. So some students didn't have technology, they're working off phones. And so my co-founder and I, she's a former teacher, we saw that there was a need. So originally it started off as a project. All we were gonna do is just give out some computers to some needing kids, and that was it. It quickly, in about a week, turned into a nonprofit. And the backstory of it a little bit is a little personal to me. So actually, during the pandemic, my father and mother saw that there was some family members that didn't have computers and needed them for school. So they decided, oh, Alex, can you find a computer? Can we gift one? It doesn't have to be brand new. So I went on the mission, I found it, and we gave it to them. And they were the first to donate during the pandemic. And then unfortunately, my father actually had passed during the 2020 year. And so I found it as a way that, my dad was a very kind and giving man. So I'm like, let me just honor him by starting an organization that just provides just help to students all across the world. And so that's kind of how Donald Tech started. And now, we started in November of 2020. So it's been about 6 months, but so far we've been getting a lot of attention, a lot of support from the community, from friends, family, big organizations. So we're really excited to just help the students, in Chicago and even the world to kind of get access just to learn a little bit more. So just to break it down again a little bit is that, so Donald Tech, we actually get repurposed technology. So we get donations from lightly used computers that could be damaged, that could be working, and then we fix them and we give them to students. They actually can sign up on our website. They can register either their teachers, students, or parents. And so then we go through a vetting process and we, communicate with the students, and then we find the right solution for them. And so the way we do is actually we get our donations, we accept everything, and you'll be surprised at what I mean. So some of the technology could be repurposed and given to students. Some of it is actually going to be used to teach workshops. We actually have one tomorrow. We're going to actually be teaching kids how to break apart a computer, learn terms, learn coding, learn any type of this type of knowledge out there. And so we do that. We also are doing some donations for a computer lab that we're trying to build in the city. And lastly is we're actually donating some to international countries. So when I heard all the other panelists talking about other countries, I'm like, oh my God, I feel like we're gonna collaborate after this. So, but yeah, so then we give out pretty much technology first. Next phase is we're actually gonna be building this computer lab in the city. There's a Humboldt Park, it's a very Latin-based community. And they've never had a computer lab. So we wanna start that as home base and just give access to some of these students to be able to learn. Because some of this technology, as much as it's the future, it's not taught in schools that well. So we want to kind of break that down, and that digital divide, as we said, we kind of want to inspire these kids to learn technology and to, see if maybe that's what they want to do in life, and we want to give internship opportunities, mentor them, help them college, whatever we can do to help. So that's kind of what we're doing in the city of Chicago. And then recently, on top of that, have you ever heard Doctors Without Borders? Well, I started Technology Without Borders. We're going to be giving technology to other countries around the world. We've already started with Guatemala. We're going to be starting again to Guatemala, to Puerto Rico, Mexico, and now with all of the panelists, maybe other countries in the world. So I feel like that's kind of our goal. So yeah.
That's amazing. I love how you're able to educate students as well as, turning something so small into so big. Mm-hmm. So the next question is, Dandel is the Spanish word for giving, right? So your name shows you're giving. Tech, roughly 110 devices have been donated so far, but is there an organization-wide goal you want to achieve?
Yeah, kind of like a little bit when I mentioned before. So our first purpose was to just deliver the technology. But then as we kind of heard with Tony and some of the other panelists is that one part is giving the actual physical items to the students, and the other part is the education piece. And that's what we want to give. So we want to give the whole solution. The way I describe it, it's like a tech journey. So starting from these young kids, teaching them how to, fix computers, learn the technology, and then taking them on a journey to get them to one day be a leader, maybe be an entrepreneur. Maybe they could go to a trade school, maybe go to school and learn coding or any type of type of career that's out there. So that's kind of where we're trying to get. And again, we're just trying to inspire others to kind of help out too. So eventually, personally, my goal, one of my long-term goals is to eventually have tech schools in all these other countries. And imagine one day we could have just a collection of schools all around the world, and these kids can communicate with each other. They can learn from each other. That culture, that's amazing. So that's what hopefully we can achieve, and then we're on the way. So
that is so inspiring. So when you donate, when you give the tech, do you communicate directly with the children? And if so, how does talking to them make you feel?
We do directly. It's a little combination because it's, it could be the student, it could be a combination of the parents, sometimes teachers, sometimes we have school counselors. So it's a combination of different individuals. But at the end, it's important because we want to make sure we're giving the right solution. For example, sometimes, it might not be a computer, maybe it's a tablet, or we've seen it where sometimes just kids have a hard time listening. They have a lot of outside noise, so we give them headphones. There's a solution for every sort of student. And the best part too is actually, one is actually giving technology, but on our forms, they're all Google Docs. They could fill out the forms. We have an open-ended question. Is like, were you affected by the pandemic? Is there any other resources that you need? And so we've seen some, comments where their families they're just needing some food or supplies or someone to fix their car, something as simple as that. And we have a mass social network. So we've actually been able to provide food and other resources, not just technology, to help out, these families.
Amazing. So that's great. Did we hit the 8-minute mark yet, or? Okay, so I think our time's over, but thank you for your answers. It's so inspiring that you're able to educate students and give them the technology and more opportunities. So if we have any other questions, we'll answer them in the Q&A panel later. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Alex. Again, that was so informative, and I'm going to repeat myself, inspiring. I'm just, like Arissa said earlier, I've had chills and almost tears this entire event. So I thank you all so much again for really being so open and vulnerable with us. All right, next section, so exciting. So now I'm going to be talking to Ion Kibria. Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Do you mind just telling me how to pronounce it?
Hey, it's okay. I am curious. Will do. No problem.
Thank you so much. Okay, so he joined the JAAGO Foundation because he wanted to make an impact in the education sector and society. Him and his team actually designed the first ever formal online schooling system for the JAAGO Foundation. And being from a privileged background and completing his entire academic life with the taxpayers' money, he decided to work for the disadvantaged people of his country. And this is why he refused to offer to join the Bangladesh civil service job. He felt that his interest, academic background, and area of expertise would have a much greater impact on the development sector of Bangladesh. So again, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to talk to you. First, we can start. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm fine, great. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. It was really nice to learn all the panelists' experience and the thoughts they're having. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. We're so happy to have this. So I'll start with our first question. I'm interested in hearing a little bit about your background, kind of like what we did with the other panelists, more so about how you ended up in the position or the career that you're in today.
Truly, the thing is that I'm blessed, being a privileged background. It's like I've been studying in the best institutions in Bangladesh currently right now, in schools, in colleges, in universities. So most of the cases in our country, we have government actually subsidize those institutions, those actually top ranked institutions in our country. So I've been studying more or less taxpayers' money in terms of if you say how money is spent for me actually. So I went to cadet college, which is semi-military institutions. Then I went to Dhaka University, which is the top ranked university in our country. So all of them institutions actually subsidized by the government. After completing my post-graduation from university, so I went to join for Bangladesh Parliament Secretariat, which is national parliament of our country. So in there, actually, I used to work with a member of parliaments having their constituents works. I have to do all the projects that actually development projects that actually they're having in the parliaments. So while working over there, I came to know that not only I came to know that the thing is that the main problem is that people are literate, so they can read and write, barely they can read and write, but they are not educated. So main problem is that education is not like you can read or write. If you can read or write, you are not educated. It's like you have to have compassion, you have to have empathy, you have to have you have to move forward to actually advance in future. So working over there, I feel that I should not be working over here. I should be working in developing our young generations. It's like the people actually having educations right now. So the main problem in our country is having we're providing almost 100% access to the students in terms of education, but the main problem is the quality of educations. So in metropolitan cities, you have all the facilities. So all the good teachers, the qualified teachers, or the quality teachers are actually in metropolitan cities. If you look into the rural areas, so there are not much educational institutes and quality teachers that actually we are actually looking for. So in terms of quality, is hugely differ from the rural area to actually urban area. So when I realized that, so I came to know about Jago Foundation, JAAGO Foundation, which is called Jago Foundation. So they have approached me to actually work for the online education systems. So I have been an education background student. So I have studied educations, is administrations, is component, is theories, its implementations. I've studied in my graduation level. So I thought that it would be my best opportunity to actually work for them and for the actually disadvantaged peoples. So Jago Foundation actually works for disadvantaged peoples. Our target is to breaking the cycle of poverty through educations. The main, which in terms of your motto is kind of same, which I've noticed earlier. So in terms of that, after I was being offered actually for the civil service job, which is I thought that it might be best for me to actually not go in, not being in the system, to stay out of the system, to actually change the system. This is how actually I came into Jago Foundation, or the development sector for our country actually. Thank you.
Wow, I love everything you just said, and it makes my heart so warm to hear again, like how many people, even just on this panel alone, how many people have that same vision and really like in their hearts believe that, you know, education plays this such a big role, because often it's kind of, education is not really seen as like a downstream solution. It's very prevention wise, like you said, stopping the cycle of poverty, right? And it has all these ripple effects which are not obvious. So a lot of times I've at least learned that people don't want to invest in it because it's not an obvious solution, right?
Exactly.
So thank you so much for saying that. I'm so excited by your work as well. Okay, I have my, no problem. I think I'll say one more question. We read again, as you were mentioning, that your team designed the first ever formal online schooling system for the Jago Foundation. Would you mind telling us a bit about your role specifically in the function of this program?
Actually, the thing is that online education or the online courses, we have online courses or education in terms of self-learning aspect. So in terms of formal education system in our country, we don't have any online system at all. So recently, due to pandemic, we're actually developing the systems in nationally. But the thing is that way from actually almost 6 to 7, more than 5 to 7 years earlier. So it was a new thing for our country. People doesn't actually don't believe, oh, you can provide education through online. How can that be possible? So it was like that at that time. So when our founder Corby Action has an idea that if we can conduct meetings, present ourselves, provide presentation over the virtual meeting, why don't we can actually provide education through online? So the main problem is that you have to align the online system to the actual practices and the theories and practices that actually you have to align in terms of legalize or the what should I say, in terms of regulations, that government actually doesn't have any regulation to actually conduct education through online. So we have to build the teaching learning systems through online, how we can actually conduct teaching learning process through online, how we can monitor, how can we evaluate the students' performance over there. So in terms of it not actually not like a traditional educational systems in the classrooms. The teachers actually provide lessons or the lectures through online, and the schools we have the infrastructure. So students actually used to sit in the classroom. Teachers are not actually in the classroom. Teachers are in the virtual. It's like we are like we are having meeting right now. So it's like it's a both way conversation actually we provide. We call it synchronous online teaching learning process. And we actually merge the blended teaching learning process through the this online formal education system. So currently, after in the midst of pandemic, government have realized that we should have a parallel online education system, so that actually if this kind of incident happens, I hope not that this kind of incident should happen in near future, but if happens, so that actually our education system can run along having the online education system. You might know that from March 2020, all of our education institutions, schools, colleges, and universities are shut down due to the corona pandemic, and still we are having no clue when it's going to open. So this is how things actually going over here.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you so much for that response. And I really resonate with what you said about the long lasting change, because that's how we're going to make the world better, right? We're going to learn from our mistakes. So I'm so grateful to have gotten the chance to speak with you today. Thank you so much. We're going to continue.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I have a few more, but we're going to talk about those in the combined Q&A if that's okay. And I'll hand it over to Ryan now to continue with our next panelist. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I loved hearing about your story and all those amazing insights. So next in our panel lineup, we have Kwame Lennon. He has had many roles involving education and is currently a superintendent for the Toronto District School Board, which is the biggest school board in Canada. Kwame always puts education first, and he will never hesitate to help his students whom he inspires every day. So hello, Kwame. Hello, Mr. Lennon, as I'm familiar with calling you. How are you today?
Wonderful. And first and foremost, I just want to say thank you so much for inviting me to this wonderful event. I am in awe. And full disclosure for the panelists, like these are some of my former students. I had no clue they were involved, but I'm so pleased. So I don't even want to go on. But I want to share a quote with you. You have a question for me though. Let me be quiet and let me hear your question, right?
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Okay, so the first question that I have for you, kind of just what we've asked all the other panelists, but more specific to what you do. What started your passion for education?
Wow, thank you so much. I learned early on that I wanted to do something different, for my family. I was the first person in my family to aspire to attend post-secondary education. No one in my family in Canada at that point had attended post-secondary education. So at the age of 16, I decided that I wanted to be a teacher. And I decided to take the path of attending York University so I can enter the teacher education program. But really what started it, to answer your question, it all came back to my volunteer experience in my own community, where I helped to tutor students that were younger than me.
Wow, that is amazing. And it is so inspiring that you were the first person in your whole family in Canada to, aspire to go to post-secondary education. And it's even more amazing what you've been able to accomplish so far, being a superintendent for the biggest school board in Canada. So that's just amazing. All right, the second question I have for you is, would you say that you've learned the most from being a teacher, a principal, or a superintendent?
I'd say that I learned the most being a teacher.
Mhm.
I spent about 9 years in the classroom teaching various subject areas in various parts of the city. And I carry that experience with me each and every day. And as I moved to become a vice principal and then a principal, I always thought about those conversations and those interactions I had in the classroom with my students. I taught grade 8 for a number of years. And I remember my grade 8s, and no disrespect to the boys, but my grade 8 girls, like, wow, they were just like you all, amazing, doing great work. And I always had to sit back and listen and let my students take the lead based on their interest.
Absolutely, I definitely agree. It definitely sounds like teaching is the foundation for, what's to come in, your future career, and just it teaches so many lessons not only for the students but for the teachers as well. So that's amazing. All right, I think I'm going to say one more question and then we'd love to hear your quote. So, the question I have for you is, the point of Dollar to Defeat of this fundraiser is to raise awareness about the digital divide and act upon it. Have you been involved in any other digital divide related initiatives? And if so, what were they?
I must say that I have not been a part of any other digital divide initiative, but in speaking and listening to the panelists today, this has sparked such a great interest for me. And I look forward to seeing what I can do to close the gap between those that have access to technology and those that don't.
Absolutely amazing. And just a follow-up question with that. Um, can you maybe explain a little bit about how the TDSB, say, has transitioned to online learning and what work has been done to support children that didn't have computers at that time?
Thank you so much for your question. So due to the pandemic, we had to make a quick shift to remote learning. And across our district, we have approximately 246,000 students. And we're not just talking elementary. This involves elementary, secondary, and adult learners. But in many schools, we have, you know, a few hundred, let's say, laptops or Chromebooks. And in some schools, there are not as many. So what we had to do was determine where the need was and try to ensure that we got, laptops, Chromebooks into the hands of students that did not have it. And I must say that we made every effort to ensure that that happened, but it was still an ongoing challenge throughout the pandemic to ensure that students had access, even in our city, to technology.
Absolutely, 100%. Thank you so much for answering all those questions. And now, just to close out this session, we'd love to hear your quote that you were referencing earlier.
I was thinking about Nelson Mandela, and given that this is a global forum, he said that education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world. So as we think about formal education and informal education, I think about that quote more and more. And you are all the products of the Canadian education system, and I can see that you are already affecting change. So that's what I wanted to share.
Amazing. Thank you so much for all of your insights. We really appreciate it. And we hopefully will get the chance to ask more questions in the combined Q&A. But now I'm going to hand it over to Helen.
Thank you so much, Ryan and Mr. Lennon and I feel really just inspired all of us. I've been doing for years when you were my principal. So next we'll be hearing from Ashta Magoo. I hope I said that right. You can correct me if I.
Almost. It's okay. It's quite near to what it's supposed to sound like.
Thank you. So she is a development sector professional based out of Delhi, India, and she's presently working as a communication consultant with the Wipro Foundation. Ashta has previously worked with grassroots organization based in Rajasthan and has a keen interest in gender equality and sustainability. In her free time, she enjoys reading books and is presently exploring the fantastic world of graphic novels. Find her Twitter using the username written on the slide. So thank you so much for coming today. I have my first question for you, but before we start, just how are you doing? How are you feeling after listening to all the other presentations?
I'm doing great, Helen, and of course it's a pleasure to be on this panel and listening to such fantastic people doing great work across the globe. So of course it's a pleasure to be part of this conversation, and yeah, I'm just like I've been very meticulously jotting down notes and things that I want to go back to and like research more on what Alex is doing or Tony is doing on in their with their initiative. So just like a lot of homework for me, I think, after this discussion. Yeah.
I love to hear that. That's really amazing. My first question for you is regarding the article that you wrote that was on Malala.org, I believe. Can you please introduce to us the SMILE program, which is actually mentioned a lot in the article? Like, what is it, that kind of thing?
Sure. When schools across India closed down in March 2020, this was to limit the spread of COVID-19. And the government in the state of Rajasthan rolled out this program by the name of Social Media Interface for Learning Engagement. Just to give it sort of a popular understanding, it just called it the SMILE program so that the students would identify with it. And so it focused on delivering education through a mobile-based app that had the lectures uploaded for each grade. These lectures were delivered by government school teachers and were uploaded on the app. And it also attempted to connect the teachers with students over messaging apps like WhatsApp, so that the teachers could constantly track their progress. And although there was certain feedbacks around that the online medium is not really helping children understand concepts. So after 6 months, there was a revision in that program where the teachers were mandated to go to the house of students. And so a mix of both online and offline education was adapted in the region. And in this program, this is something that I also talk about in my piece for Malala Fund, that the government doesn't really critically probe about the availability of gadgets, like how many students do actually have access to the internet, to mobile phones, to smartphones basically. You can't access those learning materials over keypad phones, and most of the families in those regions they do poorly on the human development indicators. So they do not have enough money to buy a smartphone, and even enough money to purchase those net packages, so to say, like 2 GB data per day, or like whatever it is that we have in the cities. It's not really often there in the remote areas. And so the government also never really, as part of this program, never also really probed that how many girl students actually have access to those gadgets and are able to keep up with the learning pace. So, yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. I find it really interesting to learn how all the different countries around the world are coping with online learning and all the different methods that they're using. So my second question to you is also about your writing piece. We saw that in your article, it's clear that at least in India, it's the women and girls that suffer the most from the digital divide and online learning. Do you think that society in India or around the world could ever bridge this gap and have more equality, or will women and girls always just be like a little bit under on the men's stand?
Right.
It's a big question, so it can take a little bit more time.
Yeah. So I think I would really like to be optimistic and say that maybe in a few years we could bridge the gap. But yeah, but honestly, I also think that it could take more than a few. And most importantly, bridging the gap would require concerted efforts. See, the fundamental thing that hampers a girl's access to technology solutions is that the male members in their family wish to control their agency. Many families believe that when these girls could access certain materials that could challenge their chastity through their phones. I mean, for something as basic as downloading the messaging app WhatsApp and just talking to men, befriending them, maybe pursuing romantic interests, and ultimately their biggest fear is that the girl might run away with her partner. So the notion of honor is attached to a woman woman's decisions in this area, and thus it limits her freedom to pursue her interests or pursue her education further. So I think when we're trying to look at bridging the gap, it's very important that we talk about behavioral change, which again is a long struggle. Like, you need diligent and committed efforts to convince communities that there is merit in educating our girls, that we need to not feel threatened by their exposure to technology, to the internet, to new knowledge and information systems. And also, one needs to understand that the region where I was working, these girls are mostly first generation learners. So for the male members to get used to this idea of them accessing education through online media is going to take some time. And yeah, and I think healthy conversations and dialogues will only ensure all of this, not top-down approach where you hand them the gadget thinking that, okay, maybe the family knows the best and they would be able to support their child's education. I think it needs constant guidance and deliberative dialogue that needs to happen. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. I really enjoyed listening to you. I find everything that I've learned today so mind-blowing, but thank you so much for speaking about all the different impacts and like how sometimes it's really about the family, but maybe as a society we could bridge the gap at some point. I did have a couple more questions, but being mindful of time, we can do them in the combined Q&A. Thank you so much for speaking. I had a lot of fun interviewing.
Thank you.
A big thank you to all of our panelists for those amazing discussions. Each one of us on this team has learned so much, as I know I did, and we are very inspired by the work you do. Now we will have our combined Q&A, our post event, which we're going to call it. And I'll pass it over to Arissa for the first question.
Thank you so much, Camilla. And I just want to say thank you to every single one of you who have come to speak with us. I still have chills. It's so wonderful with the power of technology. We've all been able to come here and connect and talk about this incredibly important issue. So thank you. And now we will invite all of our speakers to come and answer questions collectively. So if Rishan, you could spotlight everybody, that would be great. And so it'll be more of a panel kind of with everybody. So the first question we have for today is, has hearing the rest of the panelists given you a different perspective of the digital divide? And if so, how would you describe the issue in one word? So maybe we can start with Alex?
Like I said earlier, it's been great hearing everybody's story. I feel like collectively we're all kind of on the same mission, and we're all. I guess I can't wait to collaborate with everybody, but it seems like we're all just trying to dissolve that. I think with the pandemic, we saw that there's a need out there, and I think we're all kind of like trying to break that down and use it as to our advantage to pretty much try to help these students and increase that education across the world, which is great.
Definitely. Thank you, Alex. Nelly, would you like to answer the question next?
I would echo what Alex said, is that it's really exciting to see that there's so many more people in the fight. And it's glad that I could just like reach out and be like, okay, how do you do this? Shipping is the worst for us. So if anyone knows how to ship computers, let us know. I think it just like reaffirmed how important our work is. Right.
Completely. Yes, totally. Mr. Lennon, would you like to answer the question next?
Hi, I must say, I'm really here thinking about the privilege that I hold. I'll share something with you. Before I got on, I had an issue with one computer, and then I jumped onto another computer, right? And I'm thinking about that. If we are providing access to technology for so many, think about those that don't have the privilege of one that doesn't work and getting onto one that does work, right? So with that, I'm thinking about not one word, but three words: equity of access. Equity of access. And I'll leave it there. And thank you so much. This has been so amazing.
Thank you, Mr. Lennon. I love that. Equity of access. Perfect. Ashta, would you like to answer the question?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, as Mr. Lennon also mentioned that as part of this conversation, you can't help but think about your privilege in the situation. So definitely, I think these conversations given me a lot to think about. And if I were to like put it in one word, I think I'm looking at freedom right now, because for us, I mean, that's the word that explains the essence of the problem here in India, that you need to give the girls the freedom to access the right information, pursue their education and interests, and make decisions about their future. So freedom would be the word for me.
Completely. So through education, through technology, we're opening up the world and providing more freedom. I love that. Thank you. Ayan, would you like to answer the question next?
Like, I'd like to echo with Tony. So spread your hands to the less fortunate. We all are fortunate. So those are less fortunate, please spread your hands like Tony is spreading his hands to those less fortunate students, kids, children. So that's all.
Thank you. Thank you. I love that. Speaking of Tony, would you like to answer the question?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much, Ayan. And, echoing what Mr. Lennon was saying, equity of opportunity, for sure. That's ultimately what we want to provide. We can't control equity of outcomes, and to try to control equity of outcome is silly, but we can strive to provide equity of opportunities. And even though one of the things that it's very interesting amongst all of us is that we're all trying to solve a very similar problem, but in different parts, and it comes with different sets of challenges, right? So you don't have a blanket approach, and it's impossible to have a blanket approach. But the best way for you to ultimately figure out exactly how you can benefit the people that you're serving is to connect with your community. Right? Go outside of your safe zone and connect with your community, connect to your local leaders, connect to your local businesses, and just reach out, because each solution is going to depend from from your specific area, but also what you provided with the rest of the team, this opportunity to brainstorm and share thoughts is so important, because what one person might be doing in one area, might shine a light for another person in another area for them to tackle problems differently, because we have so many different backgrounds that, we're going to look at the same problem from so many different perspectives. So having that, opportunity to keep communicating and to keep sharing stories and see what worked, what didn't work, it's so important, because, we don't want to go through this alone for sure.
Completely. I think that totally sums up the power of this event and like having conversations like this, because you're right, we're not going to be able to solve such a global issue on our own, but the more we come together and see what everyone's doing, see how in our own way we're trying to help the same problem, we can improve and reach more communities. So thank you so much. I think that is all of our panelists for the first question. I will now pass it over for our next question.
Thank you so much, Arissa. I love this little combined Q&A. I'm just learning so much today, and I love it and I appreciate it, because I don't know any other time in my life that I would ever get a chance to speak with all of you at one moment. So I'm so grateful. All right, my next question is, has hearing, okay, we kind of talked about this, so feel free to, add if you haven't said something in this kind of area before, but has hearing from the other panelists sparked any ideas for like a specific future project or activity for yourself or for your organization that you're a part of? We can start with Alex, please.
All right. Actually, yeah, I've been thinking about that as we've just been hearing everybody speak. I think especially we're on different parts of the world, and I feel like we're all kind of on the same mission. It's all aligned. So yeah, I would love to do some sort of either online event, or we can have, students, or we can all just collaborate to just kind of, do something special. And then eventually, as I told you, my long-term goal of having tech schools, I don't know, maybe we can make all that happen. And I would love that. So definitely looking forward to, helping everybody. But actually, I kind of want to play off a little Mr. Lennon with his quote. So I do have kind of my own quote. So I figured it might be the perfect time for it. So let me read it. I know I posted it the other day. So I go, if you're in a position to help somebody, help them. God just may be answering that person's prayer through you. So to my response to that is, imagine if one person helped somebody else in the world, how much better would the world be?
Yeah.
You can ask that question to yourself.
Thank you. Amazing. And yes, any kind of wisdom like that, it's truly the ripple effect. Like it's everything you just said. And thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that. Mr. Lennon, would you like to say something about this?
Thank you so much. Just quickly, one action I'm going to take is speaking to the Chief Technology Officer in the district that I serve, and really try to find out more about e-waste and the recycling, because that's a whole area that I'm not familiar with. So this has broadened my understanding, because maybe there's so much. I know as a developing nation, we waste so much, but as I'm listening to our panelists in other parts of the world, I'm wondering, well, what happens with all this stuff that we waste? Again, I have 3 computers at home and 2 are not being used right now. What can I do with those 2 computers? And who can it help in some other part of the world? So that's an action that I like to take.
Yep. I agree so much. I have 2 siblings at home with me, and each of them have their own computer too. So when I'm not using mine, I give to them, and we have like 3 to go around. So it's really interesting to recognize your privilege like that. Thank you. Tony, on to you.
I mean, just learning, you get so focused on running your business, and again, you get so connected with your community that you sort of forget to go out there and see who's doing something similar. And obviously it's a little bit hard to fully grasp the extent of the business model from Aeon and Alex and Ashta and NELLY, but it just being able to stay connected, it's something that I'm definitely going to do. I think I've already reached out via LinkedIn or via social media to all of you. So I want to keep the conversation going for sure. And whatever we can help, whatever we can support, whether it's from a sounding board perspective or from a potential opportunity perspective, then I'm 100% on board for sure.
Love that. Thank you. I'll throw in a quote that I go by, which is teamwork makes the dream work. And I 1,000,000% follow that in school, at work. So, I'm so on board with all of this. Ashta, would you like to go?
Just echoing what everyone's been saying, that of course teamwork makes great teamwork. So definitely looking to learning more from each of you and figuring out where we could collaborate and synergize our efforts. Definitely, I think that's definitely one thing that I would like to go ahead with. And also the philanthropy that I work with, they have initiatives in the space of education. So I think I would just like go back to the team and ask them, like, what are they doing about access to education to underserved communities, ask more questions and ensure that our resources are being spent in the right manner. So this conversation definitely has given me a lot to think about and to go back to my team and ask. So yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for your response. Last but certainly not least, Ayan, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, listening from all the panelists, I'd like to definitely hear more from Tony, Alex, Lemon, and Asta. So I'm actually planning. A bit of came into my mind, so that if we can collect those computers that actually Tony collected from different organizations, different companies, we can do that in our country too. Asta actually developed apps which actually provides lecture to the students and to the from the teachers, so we can actually learn from her. So I'm actually looking forward to actually communicate after this session, so that actually I can learn more. I can replicate those things in the context of our country, not only in the context of our country, it can be anywhere in the world. So thank you for arranging this one. So definitely I've learned a lot, and definitely I'll hear more from you.
Thank you. Nelly, didn't forget you. Nelly, would you like to say something? I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I think my video dropped for a second. What was the question?
Oh, it was just, after hearing these panelists, do you have any ideas for a future project or activity or action that you want to take moving forward?
Oh, right. I think as I hear, I mean, thinking about my own experience and thinking about just how hard it is to really change the world. It's such a lonely and I don't know. It's really heavy. It's really hard. So I just for me, I think what keeps me going, and I think that will probably help, is that you remember why you're doing this. Who are you doing it for? It's for the kids. It's for the people that you're trying to change their world. Because sometimes you was talking to a donor who does not care about what you're doing, and it's and my favorite quote in regard to this is that there's always someone who is not going to care about your organization. Let not that be you, right? Right. And for now, I can't think for sure about how we can collaborate, because for me, I can't get past shipping. Shipping has been my biggest challenge. But if you know ways I can import computers into Kenya without paying really expensive fees, or if there's ways you have to put computers in Kenya, let me know. Right now, we are paying 70% import tax on these computers, and we have a storage unit full of computers in Chicago, but we can't bring them over here because we don't have $100,000 to just get them into the country. So that
Nelly, I can connect with you further, but I don't think you necessarily want to take on that challenge by yourself. I know that, African countries, the same way as South American countries are very corrupt and whatnot, but usually you can find an organization that wants to partner with you And I know we did it when we shipped, we set up a tech lab in Haiti, and we set up a tech lab in Colombia and in Peru. And we always kind of, so when we, and this is just, I don't know if it's, worth anything, but every time we do something internationally, we never see it as a computer donation, right? Because computer donation in fact, we try to even stay away from the word donations. When the moment we're, giving the computers, we always call it computer deployments, because it's not the fact of here's a computer, we're here for the picture, I don't want to see you again. It's here's a computer, I want to know what you're doing with your computer, I want to provide you with software, I want to know when that computer breaks down so we can come and we can fix it or replace it. I want to know what the kids and families are doing with that computer and how their life is benefiting from them. So we're always creating that long-term partnership. And for example, when we sent computers to Colombia, we went to visit the Colombian consul in Orlando. And it's always presented as a triangulation opportunity between public sector and private sector. It's never Tony from Eastmont Recycling sending computers to Colombia. No, it's collaborative effort. So the consul made the introduction to someone in the Ministry of Education of Colombia, who at the same time connected us with one person from the mayor's office in Bogota, who at the same time was linked with the school board and the principal of the school where we deploy the computers to. So these guys have such a strong network that, we pitched a graded project. We said, hey, listen, these 20 computers are going to go to this particular school to do a pilot project for these kids to do. It's something that's called the Orange Economy, which is, graphic design and video editing and all of that. So if it works, and if we're able to make it work, then we want to replicate it across, Bogota and see how it goes. So, if you paint a bigger picture, these guys made a few phone calls in a matter of a week. We were shipping those laptops, and they were bypassing any type of regulations to ship to Colombia. That's what worked for us in Latin America. I don't know how that would be.
Reach out to you and figure out how we can get these computers off. I love that
Sure.
idea.
Yeah.
And just to tag along with Tony, I do like how you said the donation. That's why I like using the word repurpose, because these devices were just, they're not being used. So we want to repurpose and give something positive that we can do with it to these students. And for Nelly, I know you mentioned like Chicago. Well, I'm here in Chicago. So if any way I can help out, or you want to reach out to me offline, like we can see if I can help out any sort of way. So.
Sweet.
Yay. Awesome. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you all for jumping in. That was so nice to watch, so inspiring. I hope to be like you when I grow up. I'm kind of old, but it's fine. All right, I'll pass it over to Camilla for our last question.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So lastly, are there any closing remarks any of you would like to share? Alex, we can start with you.
Again, I thank you for having me be part of the panelists. Again, I'm all about collaboration and meeting new people, and again, striving to all have one collective goal and get to there. And again, this is something that was a small idea. I never thought I would be running a nonprofit or an organization. It's always in the back of my mind, but I'm happy that I'm doing it, and I'm happy that there's other individuals out there in the world doing the same thing. So again, I think we just need to change the world. And as much as we all didn't take that little stride to actually do what we did, imagine all these organizations would not be there. And so I applaud all of you, and I am going to help all of you in any way I can. And I just can't wait to see us maybe a year or 5 years from now where we're at. So definitely thank you again for having me.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And Kwame, or how I used to address you, Mr. Lennon.
Thanks, Camila. I'll just be brief. I just want to thank you all for continuing to change and affect lives all across our globe. And that's something that I will continue to do locally as I stay connected with this great nonprofit organization. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lennon. Asta?
Yeah, just this only, that I think so many times when you're working on these causes which are so huge and so difficult to tackle, there are times when, especially, like, I mean, I get very disappointed when I'm just like having a conversation with someone about it, and why don't you understand this, or like, why aren't we moving towards this? So I think the pace with all these things can be really slow. So for people who are working on such difficult causes with great passion, I think it's always important for us to remember to not lose hope. Maybe things wouldn't change in our lifetime, but maybe, like, I don't know, maybe after 2-3 generations, whatever it is, that it's not, it's totally okay for us to understand that there is only so much that we can do, and whatever it is that we are doing it with great integrity. So being compassionate to ourselves and our causes and the people that we are working for is something I think we should always remember.
Thank you so much. I agree with you. Thank you. And now, Nelly, is there any closing remarks you would like to say?
Yes, so I think my last comment was a closing remark, but this one will be for the attendees. I think it's easy for you to look at us and be like, oh, I can never beat them. They have so much courage. They have so much. I know we're awesome, but I think like the basic idea here. I think what really drives me is this idea of living a place better than we found it, right? For us is we found something and we want to change it. For me was making sure that my community, my kids in my community have a different life from the one I grew up with. But you can do that in a smaller scale. Whatever challenges you're having right now, if you're a junior developer and you're struggling with a piece of code or you're any kind, whatever challenges you have right now, think about someone who's going to be in your shoes a few days later, a few years later, and how can you make their life better? What something can you fix now that someone who's going to go through that again will never experience the same challenges you're experiencing?
Thank you so much, Nelly. And now I'll pass it on to Ayan.
I would like to thank you guys. The thing is that the way you have organized and bring all those people over here, I was thinking that at your age, I didn't think about something like this. So I really appreciate you guys are doing such a wonderful thing. Definitely, we all are all the panelists over here. Most of all are actually professional in our respective sector. But you guys are really cute, and I really appreciate your effort that you are bringing all of us over here. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Ayan. And last but certainly not least, Tony, is there anything you would like to say?
No, I'm okay. I'm just kidding. No, it's just thank you. I mean, kind of piggybacking on what Ayan said. I mean, you're so young, but you're so full of passion for this. And I just don't keep pushing forward. Keep expanding the limits. People hear, and people pay attention. So I commend you for doing what you're doing at such a young age, and for having that passion to do it, and to put together a group of people like this, and go through everything that you're going through. I think the future is going to be very bright, and just like don't stop, don't settle. Keep pushing boundaries, and you can tell that you're a natural born leader. So use your voice for good, and just keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tony, for those amazing and inspiring words. I will now pass it on to Ryan.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Carolyn, to all of our panelists. Well, that about concludes our main event. We would like to express our deep gratitude for all of the panelists for their time and insights.
Yes, thank you so much, Ryan. Thank you again for all the panelists. Now to our audience members, thank you for taking the time to learn something new and for contributing to our fundraiser. As mentioned, just a reminder, when you got a ticket for this event, 100% of the profits are actually going to be going to an orphanage in Baja, California, Mexico, that is struggling to get all of their kids technology for school. So thank you for your contributions and stay tuned for more ways you can donate. Also, if you want frequent updates, be sure to subscribe to our email newsletter, which Helen and I co-write together. It's very interesting, if I do say so myself. And also feel free to follow us on social media. As with all the other panelists, I think everyone dropped their handles in the chat, but our Instagram handle and website name will be in the chat if it's not there already. Yeah.
Now, last but certainly not least, thank you to our incredible, generous sponsors, Farallon Physiotherapy and Rehabilitation Center and Extreme Measures, who have contributed significantly to our project. Links to their websites are in the chat, so you can check them out.
Yes, certainly none of this would be possible without our incredible sponsors. So thank you to them for contributing to our project. Also, we wanted to share an exciting thing that all of you, panelists and attendees, and anyone else you may know who would be interested, that you can get involved further with our Digital Devolve project. So currently, we are hosting a t-shirt design competition where you can design a t-shirt with a picture or art piece that represents the digital divide in your view. As we've seen today, all of our panelists have different perspectives on the digital divide, but even though we all have different ideas, it's still one issue, and we're all working collectively to eradicate it. So all submissions will be judged, and the winner's design will be used to produce t-shirts that will sell, and 100% of the profits will go towards our Digital Devolve project. So, you know, we at PPG tried to come up with a way that you can use your creativity to make a difference, and this is a perfect way. So I believe Rishan just put the link in the chat to the submission form where you can get more information on how to participate.
Wow, yeah, that reminds me I need to finish up on my design. Because hey, why not? Doing something fun and also help people. Am I right? Okay, well, thank you again for coming and wishing you all an amazing day.
And just last but not least, if we can ask all the panelists to turn on their camera, we're gonna take a big group photo to remember this incredibly inspiring moment. So yes, and then I'll give everybody a countdown. So say cheese in 3, 2, 1, cheese. Okay, amazing. Let's see how that turned out. Great, thank you so much. And to all of our attendees, please look out for an email that should be coming to you in the next few days about how you can get involved and learn more about all of our incredible panelists. All right, take care, everybody. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.